One and only moves us to speak, checking in for a daily moves thought, giving your perspective on teamwork. You will not get anywhere else. You do not teach you how to rise to the occasion, folks. No, what we teach around here, we teach you how to fall to your level of preparation. What I mean by that, out here in South Florida, when you have a day that is absolutely unacceptable in Florida, when it comes to the weather, an unacceptable level of cold out here in South Florida. When you have days like that, and they do happen. They do happen from time to time, as I've learned being out here for close to a decade now. It happens. When you have days like this, can you take your normal routine and fall to your level of preparation? Because what I have to do on days like this, I have to take the run indoors and see if it's still happening. You understand? Like, I became a runner because I used to work at an overnight gym, just like this. All right, overnight gym, just like this. And during my time as an overnight, associate or whatever you want to call me, front desk, whatever, I would clean up the entire gym, and then I'd run a whole hour on the treadmill. I didn't plan that. Like, understand, I was on it. I was going through a whole lot of shit. I just graduated college, and the mindset just going and going and going. You look down, it's a whole hour goes by me running. That's how I actually became the runner I am today. So falling to your level of preparation means, what have you been doing to get yourself ready for the moment? And did the moment surprise you? Did the moment get to the point where you're like, holy shit, I doubted myself. I thought too small. I thought too little small of myself. I didn't think of myself that I could actually do that. So a whole hour done today. And I still got more, as you can see. The juices are flowing. All right. Perfect timing for a Make Your Move Monday. First Make Your Move Monday of February. And you see the question. It's a three-part question. Are you the owner? Are you the CEO? Are you the founder? And understand, you have to know the difference of all three. You have to know the difference of all three. Obviously, I'll do a deeper dive on this and on this. Regardless of the situation, there are going to be times where you got to be the owner of your own household. There are going to be times where you got to be the CEO of your specific department. There are going to be times where you have to be the founder of a new idea, the founder of a new concept, go create the vision, create the opportunities. All of these things are all encompassing. Are you living your life in a way in which you can figure out how to create all three opportunities for yourself? Let me just give you kind of a quick definition, and I'll give you a deeper dive in this on the live show. So the owner is someone that is running the whole show. All right, running the whole show, and they don't have a boss. Like, they don't have a boss. It is not a job to them, meaning they can make whatever hiring decisions they want. They can put around people, whoever they want. They can run the business with their specific family members. They can create a pipeline between them and their son or their daughter or whatever family member they want running the business. It is their show. They can own the business. All right, that's number one. Now, the founder of an organization has the vision. It's not actually physically there yet. There's no real product yet. There's nothing but a vision that you have. And that's what a founder is. Now, the CEO is the one that's executing it. Here's where this conversation started. A lot of people don't understand the CEO is actually having a job. Being the CEO of a company is not actually being the owner of a company. Being a CEO is having a job. The same way somebody has a job as maybe cleaning up his gym, right? Being a CEO is an actual job. So you got to understand the difference of all three. And you're going to have to be all three at certain parts of your life and certain aspects of every area that you go into. So CEO, owner, founder. Understand the difference and understand you got to be all three. So for more on this, again, tap into me on the live stream. Main website to check out to dive deeper into all the work I do. Everything employee development, it's makeyourmove.com. It's MAKEYAMOVE.com. One-stop shop for your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one crook champion, one and only. Move swiftly, speaker. Check it out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever time of day you're tuning into this. Again, like I just mentioned, well, first of all, let me reintroduce myself to anybody that is new around here. The name, it's As One Crookshank. I am your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 6-time published author and educator. I created this whole brand, this whole platform, this whole concept that's all about taking the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field, applying them to businesses and business owners so they have a staff and or a group of employees that moves as efficiently, as coherently, has the same demeanor, has the same mentality of a championship high school or youth football team. And we're digging all up into that today. As you heard, today's Make It Move Monday kickoff question is, owner, do you know the difference? First of all, it's gonna be kind of a two-part thing. We do like two-part series around here. We'll have the Make It Move Monday kickoff question, and then tomorrow we'll break down a top five process of some sort of how you can ultimately get there. So again, if you're new around here, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Says I just saw I went over 2,000 subscribers today, which is a big deal for me, considering that you're speaking to someone that is an introvert, doesn't have a huge following, but doesn't necessarily need a huge following, considering the people that I serve are not going to, there's not going to be a lot of people considering who it is I'm serving. I'm serving those business owners that are absolutely, they make you, their presence in itself is going to make you uncomfortable. You can see, like, my ideal client, you could see that person at a Starbucks like this or just out with their family. You're going to have some level of insecurity. So me going over with, when it comes to the stuff I talk about in this channel, going over 2,000 subscribers is actually a big accomplishment versus, let's say, some comedian who is probably excited. It's over 4 million subscribers. I'm never going to get that many subscribers, which isn't something that I necessarily want. You want a good number based on the people that you're looking to serve. So again, like I mentioned, that's what we do around here. If you don't know who I am or what I'm about, all of that is available on makeitmove.com. If you would like more information on the employee development workshops, my books, you can go there and hit the shop now button, get a copy of my newest book that is going to be out coming up. It's coming up. We're coming up on March now. So this month it'll be actually physically here, how to be a entrepreneur, or if you want to book me to speak, or just a little bit about all the things that I do, speaking workshops, all that good stuff. All of that is on makeitmove.com. It's makeyaMove.com. Hold on, I just realized I didn't sign into this. Give me 1 second. So again, as you can see, we are diving into the difference between being an owner, a CEO, and a founder. And what sparked this conversation today, let me just give you a briefing before we really get into it, before we deep dive into it. Sparked this conversation was several things that I've lived through over the past 4 weeks. Yes, I know it's hard to believe for some of you all, but we are in the month of February. All right, so New Year's, all the New Year's excitement and the resolutions and what you're going to be and all that kind of stuff, you got to start executing the plan. So 4 weeks in a row, I was at a different networking event or different convention, something self-development. 4 weeks in a row, it was pure self-development. And this last week, I had a conversation with the CEO of the school that I teach at. That was absolutely something I needed to hear. I needed to hear everything he said, considering that I've been at this school for this amount of time and never really had the opportunity to have the face-to-face with him. I got a better understanding of what CEOs really go through. Now, again, I grew up, my father ran his own business. He's a small business owner. So I've been around business owners. I grew up in Maryland, the DMV area. So it was either business owners, it was football coaches, it was politicians, and a lot of the men I grew up around, most of them, and even the ones I worked with, whether I played football or, worked at a gym, they were entrepreneurs in their own right. You were the trainer of this particular thing, and you had to run your own business. Or you were the person that wanted to buy or own their own gym franchise. So you were the teacher, the coach that was, teaching, but, when it came to the football field or when it came to your position group, you were the owner and the CEO of that position group. So I grew up around a lot of men that had to take on the approach of, look, it's my shit, it's my company, it's my group, it's my organization. I'm doing it in the means of a large organization, but it's still my organization, there's a linebacker. I played linebacker in football. When it came to the linebackers coach, he was the head coach
of the linebackers, right, or the head coach of the defense. That's what I grew up around. That's what the kind of men that I grew up around, as far as, the people I learned from. And also even my cousin, my favorite cousin growing up, the one I probably spent the most time with. He's now currently running his own clothing brand. Let me pull it up. Let me give him a little love. He's running his own. Let me Google it real quick for you guys. Hold on 1 second. If you go Google jumper status, look at that. That's the first thing. The first thing that pops up is my cousin's clothing line, right? So there's just a lot of entrepreneurship and goals and things that go on within my own family, that this topic of CEO, owner, or founder, it's a topic that needs to be discussed and it needs to be understood, because too often what we see are people who are working a job and they're not fixing situations. They're only causing problems. And this is one of the things that what sparked this conversation was actually seeing the CEO that I work for now. I would say work with, or, again, we kind of grew up within the week, hearing him say something along the lines of, look, there's a certain group of people that don't want to fix problems. And the way he said it was like a level of acceptance that I truly learned a lot from, just hearing how someone who's a seasoned CEO and has been around the block has would say, hey, look, there's a group of people out there that just would prefer problems not to be solved because when problems actually get solved, they don't have anything else to do. They don't have anything else to complain about. There's nothing, they're not worth anything if there isn't a problem. So they throw the problems onto the people who are problem solvers and are wired in a way to fix situations. And when I heard the way he said it with the level of acceptance, it was like, wow, because it's something I struggle with. When I see a problem, when I see an issue, when I see something that needs to be fixed and I could do something to fix it, I fix it. I mean, I don't need to be told by anybody else to go fix something that you see it's clearly fixed. I was raised in a Caribbean household where, you would see like, for example, let's say as a kid, right? You're walking around as a kid and you see something on the floor. You may drop a potato chip, or you may drop a piece of candy, drop something on the floor. And instead of walking away from it, I grew up in a household where I had a mother and father that said, hey, pick the shit up. Pick the shit up. I remember, pick the shit up. You drop a piece of paper, drop anything on the floor, anything. Or I grew up in a household where my father would come see my room and see how disgusting, clothes all over the floor, just messy. And he said, you're not going anywhere until this is cleaned up. I grew up in a household that provided that structure. And I remember me and him having that conversation when I first started teaching it. I'm not gonna put the school's name out there, but if you know me personally, you know what school I'm talking about. When he said to me, he goes, the more I learn, the more I'm around you, the more I realize you grew up in a very structured environment, right? A structured environment where your father wasn't taking no mess, right? Your mother wasn't playing that. And again, for me, this conversation started way back when I was a kid, when I first, and I love telling the story because when I grew up, it was my job to cut the grass, right? It was my job to cut the grass. And anybody that's ever cut grass before in a big lawn, it's not just a matter of cutting the grass, right? You got to cut the grass, but then you also, once you're done cutting the grass, you got to trim the hedges and do all the yard work. And this is in the middle of summer. And I remember actually one time growing up, where I had to cut the grass and trim the hedges, because normally the way it would work was I would cut the grass and my father would trim the hedges. So, once I'm done, I'm done. But my father had somewhere to be. And I remember him like looking at me in my face and saying, hey, look, do a good job, son. Seriously, do a good job. Do a good job. This is big time work. This is man work. This is work that men do. This is part of your progression towards manhood, right? You don't get to just cut the grass. You got to trim the hedges too and make sure the bushes are straight and make sure, all of that work. And then you got to pick up the sticks, and you put them in the bag, because you don't want, before you cut the grass, you actually have to take the sticks. You have to take the sticks, pick them all up, put them in a bag, chop them up. And I mean, it was real hard labor, And again, that was him teaching me how to be the CEO of a certain situation. So again, all of this, I'm explaining all of this to you so you understand how a person grows up. Being a CEO, being an owner, being a founder does not just happen because a great idea hits you and it starts to execute, starts to generate some money. That's not the way it works. Being a CEO, being a founder, being an owner, all of it starts based on the way you were raised, how you handle adversity, how you handle certain situations, how you continuously develop through people, especially through people who like to throw shade at you and like to, throw dirt on your name and not give you the credit that you deserve. All of that is part of being a CEO. All right. So all that being said, let's jump into the article, and I'm going to work towards, we'll keep this around the 25 to 30-minute mark. Again, all of my stuff is available on medium.com, and I'm on YouTube every day with a different video, but the live streams are going to be Mondays and Tuesdays, and we'll kind of go from there. So all that being said, let's jump into the article. Make Your Move Monday. Owner, founder, or CEO? And yes, listen, man, that was a special day for me, man. That morning, this is in the Palm Beach, and the Breakers in Palm Beach. I'm in West Palm Beach now. So this is the Breakers, and that's Theo, Dorsey, Cynthia, and then this was Theo's wife and all that. And it was a special day because the topic was all about sports and business, and I happened to be in that room because of this woman right here to the left, on my right, facing me. She used to be at the school that I teach at in the fundraising department, and then she went on to be the CEO. Shout out to, let me look her up real quick. Cynthia, shout out to Cynthia. I didn't even plan on doing this, but I got it just based on the context here. When you look at it, come on, don't do that. Yes, yep, there it is. President right here, that's her. And you see it's the same lady, right? Same kind of name, same things coming up. And thankfully, I'm super, super grateful for the opportunity that she's been able to provide for me to get back into the world of working with high school kids and, doing all that kind of stuff. So had to go there because I'm learning so much this year, learning so much about, taking that next step in your career and being that person that, makes people uncomfortable, makes people very uncomfortable because of the persistence, because of the drive, and because of the goals, because of what you're willing to do, right? So that happened, and when it comes to Theo, I listen to him every single day on the bus. Listen to him every single day as I'm driving I also drive the bus at the school, so listen to him on ESPN West Palm Beach. And I just happened to go to a networking event where I got a chance to meet him in person, and we've been kind of staying in contact. We've been working on trying to get a day where we just our schedules align and we can sort of just chop it up and figure something out. But again, all of these things happen not by accident, but because there's an understanding and there's a mindset there that you got to know the difference. You got to move with some grace, and you got to move with some intention. Intention is the big thing. All right. So people use the words owner, founder, and CEO interchangeably. They should, because when you confuse the roles, you confuse your responsibility. All right. And that confusion shows up everywhere in your relationships and your growth. Before we go any further, let's define what the three actually are. So the founder, if I say I'm the founder of a company, the founder creates. They see the opportunity where nothing exists. Founders live in the vision, belief, and possibility. They are comfortable being early, wrong, and misunderstood. See, the key word in this definition is when you're the founder of a company, you are going to be misunderstood because what you're seeing, somebody else is not seeing yet. All right, they're not seeing how it's going to work yet, and that's totally fine. In fact, when people don't get what you're doing, that's kind of confirmation on the fact that you're on the right track. Not to say that everybody just is wrong about what you're saying, but the fact that they don't see it yet means you are actually a founder of something. You need to listen to the feedback and then figure out, are you thinking about all of the little things that may or may not come up in your vision in terms of what it is you do? That's the feeling of a founder. Very same feeling, okay? Very same thing that's going to happen when you start a family, when you start dating a significant other that you don't know how it's going to end, right? The founder mindset is going to be applied in all of the major events in your life, right? When it first time you're going to get married, right? And you're not going to know, you have to be the founder because you don't know how this is going to end when it comes to kids and how this may happen. We can't predict the future, though. All of us in our own mind have to be founders in some way, shape, form, or fashion. It's just a matter of, are you willing to be comfortable being uncomfortable? Are you okay with being misunderstood? Are you okay with rejection? Are you okay with being able to move in a situation where you're not going to get a lot of support? Is it fair? Absolutely not. Is it necessary? Absolutely is, because it strengthens you. It makes you stronger. It makes it so you really have to ask yourself. You look yourself in the mirror and say, am I cut out for this? Or am I just talking shit? All right. You have to ask yourself those questions. So that's what a founder has to go through. As you can see, the question is, what could this become? Not what is it yet? What could this become? All right. Now, As far as the CEO executes. They turn the vision into systems, people into teams, and ideas into outcomes. CEOs make the decision, often imperfect one, and they accept the accountability for the result. CEOs ask what needs to happen now. All right. Systems, people, teams, ideas, and outcomes. I'll give you an example. I love telling this story. I spent 2 seasons as a high school football coach. All right. And the second year we had a 7-on-7 at the University of Maryland. This is when I was back in Maryland. And our new strength coach, we played like shit, right? So our new strength coach, he had the idea of telling the kids to run the stadium steps. This was after a whole day of 7-on-7, the University of Maryland. We played like shit. So we had them all running the steps and run the steps just as a way of punishing them, right? So it's a good tactic, but the issue became when one of the kids actually passed out. The kids passed out because, again, they've been running around all day, and hey, it's 7-on-7, it's hot, and they're trying their best. And one of the kids passes out on the steps, and we're like, oh, because we're coaches, we're like, oh shit, this had to happen right now, right? So the head coach, who I'm bringing all this, the head coach, shout out to Deshaun Anderson, who's the CEO, right, the CEO type guy of the football program. We're all sitting there, we're all just kind of standing there hoping that the kid's okay. And the head coach goes, man, this had to happen to ruin my Saturday. And then the strength coach goes, but it was my idea, coach. And then the head coach goes, no, my idea. All right, if anything goes down, it's my idea. I approved it. It's my idea, right? That's what a CEO does. A CEO has to take on all of the shit. If you want the title, see, there's a lot of people that want the title when it sounds good, when you could put it on LinkedIn, and you could polarize yourself as CEO. But when it comes to the shit, like I just said, where if God forbid something happened to the kid, something worse, thankfully the kid was okay. But if something worse happens, now you got to take the brunt of it when shit goes down. That's what a CEO has to do. All right. A CEO is having a job. It is not going to be the sweet gig that people are giving you pats on your ass for. All right. So that's the CEO. It's what needs to happen now. Now the owner protects. The owner, they think long term. They risk sustainability, legacy. Owners care about whether something will be standing a year, 5 years, or a decade from now. Owners ask, will this still work later? Here's the hard truth. To grow personally and professionally, you need to be all three. Not all at once, but you need to be all three. You need to have the understanding of what all three are about and what all three need to do. All right. So this week's theme, it didn't come randomly, as I sort of mentioned before. It came from a moment I didn't realize I needed. All right. I've been full-time teacher at a brand new charter school out here in West Palm Beach for over 18 months. And last week was the first time I've ever sat down face to face with the CEO of the entire school and my supervisor. This was the first time that we had that face to face with HR, CEO, and then the person who is, I use the term supervisor very loosely because the more she talks and the more I'm around her, I don't even think she deserves that title, but it's another conversation for another day. There was all of us having a conversation, right? And it's the first time. And the clarity that I got in that conversation immediately changed how I see leadership, because I am like a leadership development junkie. I'm a self-development junkie. Anybody that's giving me any constructive criticism, that wants me to do great things, I'm all ears. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, I'm all ears in terms of how I can improve. That's just the way I was wired because of the way I grew up, right? So he made a statement. He made a statement to me. At one point, like I said here in the article, at one point he said something that is now permanently implanted in my brain, because I really got a chance to pick the brain of what a CEO is all about. He goes, when he gets a complaint, he tells people to never come to him with a problem that you don't want me to solve. All right. I loved it when he said it, when he set up the meeting, he set up in the meeting, he said it multiple times. Never come to me with a problem that you don't want me to solve. So if you want to come and just bitch and moan about how this one makes you feel and how that one makes you feel, and you don't offer any sort of solutions towards it, don't come to me with the shit, because it doesn't matter. Like, and as he was talking, it's like, you see, I want to get to that when I start approaching my 70s and I'm around that age. I want to get to it now. I got to wait to your 70s. You want to get to the point where people know you and they know, hey, you're not coming to me with your bullshit and literally want me to solve a problem. You're not coming to me just to complain. I only want to hear how you want me to solve the problem. If you don't have that, then just stop talking and shut up and do your job. So because it was hard, not because it was harsh, but I loved it because it was honest. In that moment, I realized something powerful. I finally knew who in the building, all right, and this is why it was such a key conversation. I finally knew who in the building took ownership of solving problems instead of passing them along, avoiding them, addressing them up in meetings. Once you recognize that difference, you change how you interact with people, because the truth is you're going to run into the majority of folks you run into, hear me, the majority of folks you run into are going to be the ones who have no idea what they're actually doing. None. No fucking clue what they're doing. All right. They'll have the fancy titles, the quote unquote comfortable salaries. That's debatable depending on your situation, right? Student loans and what it is your lifestyle is all about. They'll have the corner office, the advanced degrees, all of the accolades that they could put on LinkedIn or Facebook and get hand claps and get likes and all the other bullshit that a lot of people chase, right? But they lack the main thing that can't be taught in the classroom: common sense. All right, common sense. So much so, like the two words common sense to a lot of people are like a foreign language. Where they use your damn common sense, you don't get a lot of people that use their common sense. They just don't. Okay. So this is why being all three matters beyond work. Here's the bigger picture. It's important that you develop all three roles because doing so makes you stronger outside of work. And this was kind of where the conversation went last week, as he was telling me, this is more of a life lesson outside of the building in terms of what it is you're going to have to deal with, because I don't have kids of my own yet. I do plan on having kids at some point, but I don't have kids of my own yet. But my ability to work with children and what got me the promotion, it didn't magically appear. It started when I was in my early 20s. I spent a lot of time with my niece and nephew while my sister was going through a nasty breakup with their father. In that season, I had to be the Mr. Aswan that the kids love and enjoy at the school I teach at. I had to be Mr. Aswan. It was just the fun uncle. I had to be the create stability founder, right? Make decisions, set boundaries, CEO, protect their emotional well-being, the owner. Those kids are around the same age the students are. When I say those kids, I'm talking about my niece and nephew. Around the same age the students I serve now. That experience didn't just shape my career, it shaped me. So when you ask yourself how much you're really contributing to the development of your organization, make sure you ask the same question about your life outside of work. Swiftly, this entire platform, the entire company, everything I've built when it comes to this platform and this business that I started it's an acronym. The framework of Swiftly, the acronym of Swiftly is exactly what I mean when I say owner, CEO, and founder. You have to be all three, because Swiftly stands for skilled workers, well-informed workers, front team workers, and then that LY you add, you're lifting yourself and you're lifting others. When you're all three, whether you're the skilled worker, with the well-informed worker, with the front team worker, that framework exists for a reason. Because being an owner, founder, and CEO requires skill, you're constantly sharpening, information, you're actively seeking, a commitment to people doing the real work, and the discipline to keep developing yourself. If you don't graduate from these roles, you don't have a diploma for it, you just keep going, right? You just got to keep going when it comes to these roles. You rotate them intentionally. So the kickoff question revisited. I'm gonna close you guys out soon, right? Here it is. Which role are you actually playing right now? And which one does your situation require you to play? When you understand the difference, you stop misplacing blame, you stop waiting on titles, you stop assuming someone else will handle it, and you start operating with clarity. So coming tomorrow, again, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share this out. Coming tomorrow, we're going to break down the 5 ways that you can decipher between CEO, founder, and the owner. So again, main website to check out to dive deeper into all the stuff I do. It's makeitmove.com. That's MAKEYAMOVE.com. It's a one-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one coach, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Check it out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.